be live because there were comments. We don't know what happened, y'all. We don't know what y'all missed.
Have we been live at all? Can you check?
Yes, we've had comments and interactions and everything.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I wasn't even paying attention.
I don't know what happened. I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell is like? No one commented. I don't know what happened.
Do we have new comments coming? Because I can't see that, so I don't know if.
Was it that music you were playing? Maybe that's not copyright music. No, that's public domain.
No.
All right. Well, we don't know what happened.
But my whole thing is like, what the helicopter happened? Because we were just live. We were just getting comments. People are still commenting. So apparently we're still live. We have viewers. So I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about it, y'all.
Well, I mean, I still want to shoot. I still want to shoot Randall in the kneecap, but I mean, I do respect what you're saying, Lady Jenivia, right? It's Jenivia, right? I don't want to.
Jenivia.
I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher the name. So yeah, I mean, I respect your sympathy, and just the only thing I see with Jim is that to me right now, I think he's the most dangerous because he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but that's a problem because, like I said, I think it can lead to a lot of other people dying because of him, because of the choices that he's going to make or his sloppiness. But maybe he can step up one day and realize, he will get back into a corner with all these things and just be like, you know what? All right, fine, it's time to step up. But until then, I mean, I haven't seen him do anything.
Yeah, well, because I mean, remember, I feel like a lot of us at certain points of watching this show, we have not liked Jade because Jade has been real, sassy at the mouth. But in this episode, we see him being able to connect with Tabitha and validate her so she knows that she's not just completely losing her grip on reality. It's like, no, you've seen stuff, I've seen stuff too. So let's play detective. Let's see what we can figure out about this. So I think they're trying to hop around to different characters and let different people be in the hot seat of just being the disaster that's potentially going to instigate issues and all of that, because it could probably become really repetitive if we have just the same character always being the problem. It kind of ebbs and flows of who's the one that's really annoying the audience and making everybody go.
Jade. But I will say, I can't stand Jade. Jade can go, but Jade is a very fine individual. So people are like, you just no. Jade is gorgeous, but he needs to go. So with that though, we'll kind of go to where we do see at the Matthews house to where Julie's or Tabitha's trying to get Julie come in as Jade comes up and it's like, oh, Victor said we can't go to sleep. I wish they wouldn't have just cut from there because I would have liked a little bit more explanation because why? I don't know. But I'll come back to that. I didn't like how I put this on them. Anyways, so Kenny and Sarah, this is the one. This is where, again, I feel for Sarah. So I'm curious to know your all's thoughts. So Kenny brings Sarah to the police station. She states how things have, they feel different here. They feel wrong, which is something we've been seeing, I think, throughout the entire season, how things are changing here, which is very uncommon. She mentions it feels like when they were out in the forest with Boyd, and that where Boyd had stated, this place feeds on our pain, but what if it's more than that? And then we hear the story about how Nathan was afraid of cicadas, and this means what if our fears are part of the forest? And then, of course, we see the cicadas heading towards Colony House. And I'll come back to that. But what were your all's thoughts on that?
The cicadas or Kenny and Sarah? Well,
a little bit of both. I hate how, this show jumped around a lot. And you know what? I'm going to go finish up with Kenny and Sarah. Because here's where I liked, while they were there, I apologize, y'all. I should have ordered this better. Kenny and Sarah looking at the map. Sarah brings up a story about Kenny's mom, and she does feel bad about bringing it up. But then you see Kenny just go silent. And I kind of understand that because, again, I still think his dad's death is probably the most gut-wrenching for me. But she apologizes to Kenny, and she does show remorse. And she understands it's hard for Kenny and his mom to see her. And then that's where he's like, I don't care about anything you said. You're a murderer. You should have gone in the box once Boyd found out. That's true. So, Sarah understands. He yells at her to shut up. He doesn't want her pity. And she yells back, which I really like, where she's like, because this place has taken away everything who she was, including, and she just wants this to be over. And this line was my favorite. She no longer wants to be Kenny's monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She just wants it to be over. And then they, of course, have that where, Kenny's like, well, fine, if you want out, spare guns in the top drawer. So we'll leave it at that before we finish on with Kenny and Sarah. But what did you all think about that line? Because I was like, oh, that gutted me a little. I was like, she really feels bad.
That was powerful. That was something to really marinate on. I was like, wow. And then how many of us have been someone else's monsters before too,
Mm.
Maybe we haven't done something as bad as she has, but at some point in life, you might have been someone's monster. So I really did enjoy that line.
Yeah, same. I think that there's a lot of things that can be added to, her, because it's seen as a nightmare, for Kenny because he lost his loved one. And to him, her is that nightmare. So that's affecting him because it's like a dark cloud over him, And I can't be hypocritical of what, you were just saying, Lady Jenivia, right? It's yeah, okay, good. So I see where the sympathy and empathy comes in because I didn't hate either one of them for hating each other because it's really hard in that situation because it's like Sarah, I really do feel bad for Sarah because I feel like she did, like she said, get a lot taken away from her. And no one really gave her a chance to explain that. She felt alone in this dark corner, and now Kenny's the only one that she's kind of opening up to because they had that situation. And then I think it's that line pretty much put the not pressure on him, but just to realize that you're no better than me, and things happen, but this was out of my control. You may have not known that, but I don't want to be this for you anymore. And Kenny's just like, oh, hey, hold on. You don't got to pull the trigger now. So
I guess for me, Kenny irritates me because I also feel like he was all for giving Sarah grace until it affected him. And I think that's kind of why the whole scene with those two, with him, trying to get her out, I don't know. I can't take Kenny seriously no matter what size his pants are. I can't. I never will. I feel like I really feel sorry for Sarah because she's a victim of circumstance. Nothing that happened to Sarah was her own fault. And I feel like for Kenny to hold that against her, knowing what knowing that the place, and what it can do to you, I just didn't like it. I felt really bad for her. And I feel like if something would have happened to Sarah, I don't think Kenny would have been strong enough to handle the guilt of, Sarah's death. So I'm glad that, the Russian roulette thing just didn't work out for her.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, if not to just play devil's advocate for the sake of it, but because I've interviewed both of those actors and we've had conversations about the characters and the material and all that. And I think what maybe not everybody understands when you're just thinking about things purely as the viewer and the quote unquote consumer of the show is that, as an actor, if you're playing Kenny's story, regardless of what episode that loss takes place in, that's going to still be sitting really heavily on you. And the reveal was not that long ago for him to find out all the other information of why his father died the way that he did. And, to your point where you're saying, well, he was fine with giving her grace until it affected him. And it's like, well, yeah, of course, because it's really easy to say things in theory, but I can't relate to him in the sense of I don't have a father where I adore him so much and it would, I don't have that in my life, but so not to be childish about it, but I have a cat and that's my child and that's my baby. If anybody did anything to, cause a problem for her, I'm not going to be rational. I'm not going to be well, you didn't mean to. It's it doesn't matter because this is what happened to my baby and that's it. So, and I think it's also it's interesting how easily people are able to empathize with the conventionally pretty white woman and her tears and her guilt and her, her feelings about what happened. Whereas like, and like the only Asian man or the only Asian character that's like consistently part of the story, it's like, so what about his pain? Because like we saw his father in season, like, and his like that was already a really hard situation of, even if you weren't stuck in the town, his father is like losing the essence of himself because of whatever condition he had. So yeah, I just want to make sure that we're having a well-rounded conversation about like not just dumping on Kenny because he's going hard, because I'm like, well, I would do the same if it was my baby.
No, boo, Kenny, boo.
I think, like, I totally see. This is one of those things where I would say I certainly see both angles, because it's still really. I think that was truthfully still compelling. That death. That was just such a horrible death, and you see in the aftermath how it's affected Kenny and his mom. But I do think that we are seeing how, even though we really need to take their feelings, in my opinion, first, you do still see the impact that also had on Sarah. Now, it could be different if she'd just be like a character like, okay, so what? I did it. She actually has remorse. Doesn't mean she should get forgiveness or anything. I don't know about that. But I still
find out about this like a couple days ago. I can never tell how fast time is passing in the town.
I don't know. I can't keep track of that. But I do just feel, though, that from a character standpoint, though, I think she is also at least showing, like, I know I messed up. I'm sorry. I can't take it back. But, so I really liked that discussion. And Kenny, I think he has a right to freak out. But he needs to also pick a lane, because in my opinion, don't be like, there's the gun, and then be like, oh my God, no, don't. Like, sir, you cannot be giving mixed messages to this woman who's already on the edge.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't think anyone is, I don't know. I didn't think anyone was feeling bad for Sarah. I feel like Kenny is the one that like you feel bad for, but like you understand that Sarah has remorse. And Kenny's grieving, and no one is like, oh, well, let me think about this logically, even though I'm grieving. Like, that's not, I don't think that happens to people. So I think it's like, that's what makes it like enjoyable television, because there's like a nuance there of like, they can both kind of be in the right, but also both kind of be jerks.
I mean, she killed her own brother on accident.
Right.
I mean,
but like, that's not his problem,
bodies.
though. You know what I mean? Like, that's not Kenny's problem. That's
no, of course. But I'm just saying, like, she's got her own demons as well, and so that's why I don't think she's ever, because of course she's been isolated, or she's not been able to. I think all she has is her thoughts, but I think without Father Khatri there, like, she's
It's like,
so I do, and I think the actress is doing a really good job to get me to feel empathy for Sarah.
I think Kenny. I mean, I feel more bad for Kenny than I do Sarah. But again, it's that seesaw aspect, because Sarah, didn't really have anyone to explain of like what she's been through in her past, and she's back in that corner. But at the same time, it's like, like you were saying, because we have a little puppy over here, so if anything happened to her, I would kick some butt, most definitely. So it's hard for Kenny to deal with his emotions right now, and that's why he's not fit to lead. And right now he needs to just find at least someone or some kind of place where he can get some kind of sense to like, hey, things are not going to be okay right now, but we still can get through this, because it would be a waste if he didn't survive and his dad, both of them are dead, because he'd be living for nothing. So it's like, now you have to find a way out, so you can still possibly in the future do something for your dad when you get home, if you get home.
I also think Sarah's character is written a little bit better than Kenny. And I think that's why it may seem like there's a seesaw effect, because there's more layers to Sarah's character. I think we're waiting for something else to happen with Kenny as far as a layer. And I think, yeah, coming from the actor's perspective, because I myself am an actress as well, you kind of, when you look at a script, you yourself, the actress, have to empathize with your character. You have to care about your character. You can't judge the character the same way the audience would. And so, of course, you have to be your character's biggest fan. From the audience perspective, though, I think it does come out a little bit different. And that's why it may seem like, there's a little bit more empathy towards Sarah, only because she has more layers. And her killing her brother, I think, is definitely that ultimate layer of damn. She has a lot of shit going on, but here's where she is now. Not that we may like her. I don't. I think what she's done is terrible, but also she can't take it back. What can she do moving forward to sort of add and contribute to getting out of this horrid place?
I mean, look at it this way. At one point, Boyd wasn't going to give his blood to save his son.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the problem is, like, I keep going back to this because when I covered Yellow Jackets, I just kept saying, like, there are no rules, right? They're like deserted. And when you're deserted and also like add in all this like supernatural crap, like, they would have explained it as like, oh, she has like issues, but like realistically, those voices probably were real because of the town they live in, right? And it's like, there's like all this like supernatural stuff. And I think her and Jade, I do like, I go back and forth with whether I like him or I can't stand him, but I think both of them are probably key to like figuring out stuff. That's why, like, that's the only reason why, like, as a viewer, I'm like, no, keep those characters alive because they're going to figure everything out. Not because I think they're the best characters, just because, like, she's hearing the voices and they're probably real and he can, like, invent stuff. So it's like, yeah, keep doing that so everyone can get out of here.
Right. He's on to something.
Yeah.
He's actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
Trying.
Jade is doing something about it, so I will give him that credit.
Yeah.
He's being a
We
jerk
may
at
not
every
like how he
step,
goes
but-
about doing it, but he's getting more done than a lot of people.
Better than Jim.
For a lot longer.
I was like worried they were going to kill him, and that was like, I was like, wait, do I really like this character? No, I just know that he's their hope of like getting out. So that's why I don't want him to die.
We love to hate him. We love to hate him.
He's not full on like chaotic evil like Randall. I feel like Randall is chaotic.
Yeah, we just don't like Randall. No.
So I think I'm trying to look.
Jade is safe because that's pretty privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I think I'm looking at the outline, and I'm gonna try to go back because I want to finish with Colony House because so much happens there. So I'm gonna go to the RV just a little bit because obviously they all are now housed in the RV, and this is where we see
Boyd stepped up.
Thank you.
Yes. Boyd stepped up. I love the fact that I finally saw the Boyd that we saw for the first season because he was tired of it and like he's been through a lot. He knows he's not crazy. He knows these other people are not crazy. We're all seeing these visions and stuff. And Randall would not shut up. And he finally said, "Hey, sit down and shut up." I mean, I'm saying the nice version, obviously, but
yeah,
I like that because finally we have Boyd back in that position of someone who's actually leading. And I think that too. I don't know if you know. I think when Donna saw Boyd kind of like push him down, like, "Hey, sit down," she's like, hell.
I felt like she was kind of relieved because that's like she depends on really Boyd to be the leader, and I think Donna's a leader in her own right. But I think there's just something about Boyd that he can get stuff done when he puts his mind to it, and he's had a lot going on. So I agree. I was very happy to see him finally just take control, while we also had Jim just acting a fool.
Yeah,
he's a walking zombie.
Jim, they need to delete him. Like,
not delete him.
Would y'all be sad if something happened to Jim? Just anything? Would you be sad?
I don't think I would be.
I think
I'd be sad for Ethan. Yeah, I would be sad for Ethan.
Listen, Ethan is my favorite character. Y'all know. Like,
I can't wait to talk about what he did too. Ethan was fiery this episode.
With that line, ate him up. Too much. Well, does your mother's story end the way she wanted it to?
Let's go to that because I couldn't believe that. Because
really quick before we leave the RV, though, I do want to say I want answers about why those creatures just stopped because they were marching out like, "Hey guys, time to play."
I think it's because the music stopped.
I think it was the music, right?
Yeah, because the music was on the radio, and then when the music stopped, they stopped.
Which is weird though, because they've never done that. I mean, I guess
no,
we've
that
never
was something
seen-
new, and that's why I'm like, you guys stop adding all these elements. I know you like to me, I was just like, okay, cool, but I need a little bit more as to why. And then there's the key thing when they're all leaving the RV. The bullets don't work.
Yeah.
Wait, did
that made me laugh.
Anything though?
I don't even think they hit. Did he hit? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could see that he hit some of them. Didn't work.
I got to go back and look. Because
you also see that Boyd has a I guess a vision in a sense of his wife.
And she's saying, "Come back to me," and I just went, "No, ma'am, I'm not Jasmine Masters."
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Yep.
I thought they were trying to kill Boyd off. I was like, please don't kill him off just yet.
I mean, they can't do that unless Harold explicitly goes, "I need to leave the show. Write me off." That's literally the only way.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, is this it? Because please don't fall for this.
Not to like be completely chaotic, but you know, as far as like, oh, I thought this person was gonna die. I thought Marielle was gonna die. When she started, I thought they were foreshadowing this buildup of that because she was just freaking out. I thought it was going to be similar to what happened with Sarah and her brother, where they were going to because I interviewed the actress who plays Christy. There's so many characters on this show. I forget everybody's name. Christy's the nurse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I interviewed her, and she mentioned something in passing about Kenny, comforts Christy when something really tragic happens with involving Marielle, and I just went, oh my god, is she gonna die? And I didn't say that, but in my head I was going ooh, because I hadn't, I was like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. So when I got to this episode, I was like, oh my god, is she gonna die? Because clearly the show has no problem just to whomever they feel like. Okay.
Yeah. I thought they were gonna take 3 people. I was thinking back to that poem. They steal, they break, blah blah blah. But
well, I mean, the way it ended too, we saw 3 people affected, which
we did.
We'll get to because I got it since RJ. Yeah, that's this was my favorite moment of the episode. They're all sitting there, going like getting ready to play a game. Ethan begins to wonder, well, is Dad gonna die? Will any of them die? And Victor states it won't happen like that. And Julie starts work on comforting Ethan. And this is the first time like Ethan kind of starts to lose it a little. And then Victor tells him what his mom said. We get to choose our stories so we can choose how it ends. And I love like when he said that, I was like, and Ethan goes, what about your mom's story? I about fell out. I was like, did he just
brought that man's mom into it? Like,
yes,
brought that
this
man's
child
mom
is hitting
into
puberty.
It. He said, dig her up. Like, come on, Ethan. Like,
he knew what he was doing with that comment.
Went for the jugular. Like,
see, that's the thing,
bro,
with kids,
relax.
Kids go for the low blow. So I mean,
They
don't know anything.
They don't know
what they say.
Those scale markers comments have been bubbling up, and this is when Ethan lets it out.
Yes.
When Victor calls it, when he said those dry ass markers.
Oh yeah, last episode.
No, it's funny because Ethan was too quick with that. He'd been sitting on that for a minute.
Yeah.
He'd been waiting to say that.
He'd about had it.
My marker's dry. I got you. Wait.
I had to rewind that scene just to hear that again because I was just like, he did not. I'm like,
no, look, like the way my mouth dropped when he said that, like I could.
My marker's dry. Is your mom alive? Like,
Burn.
It was
Ethan, please.
It was easily my favorite moment of the episode because I just found myself cackling. And I was like, I needed that because the episode was getting heavy, but I was like, dang.
He needs to apologize for that. Like he got to go back and he got to make that up.
Yeah.
I feel like Victor
to Phil.
I feel like Victor doesn't care, right? Like I feel like he gets upset, but then it's like,
I agree.
Yeah.
No, Victor.
I don't know.
I don't think Victor's. I just don't think his mind's as developed. So I'm sure that to him, he'll be hurt in the moment, but I don't think he would focus on it.
Yeah,
not in the same way that,
Nobody
I don't
stays
think I agree
alive
with
long
that.
enough in the town for Victor to hold a grudge against anybody.
Also that, yeah.
It's like,
This
well, I'm
is
gonna stay mad at that
true.
person who died like 30 years ago. Like, which one?
Right. And he's
probably
probably
looking
like,
at
well,
Ethan. He's
I'm
like, keep talking, Ethan.
Listen,
yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm still here. Have been here. So
a Puerto Rican could hold a grudge, and I would be able to hold that grudge 30 years later. I'd be like, I remember what that asshole said to me. They're dead now, but I still hate them. My grandma used to tell a story. My grandma Panchi, she was born in Puerto Rico. She would tell a story of how she hated this woman who tried to like flirt with her husband. She was like, she would tell the story the same way every time. She's like, I told her to drop dead, and 10 years later she did. And she loved telling that story.
Oh my god, that's Ethan. That is Ethan. Ethan's gonna be like, you know what?
dang.
Ethan said, "Your mama," like, and walked off with it. Walked off with it like badass. Like, bro, get back here and apologize.
Right.
Is
I'm
there
like,
no
whoa.
Ethan?
But also, I mean, all jokes aside, I think that that's also an extension of this concept of raising the stakes, because Ethan is somebody who's pretty much kept his cool, even though a lot of this stuff is going on. And we did get that development of him outright saying that he's not an oblivious child. He understands what's really going on, but he's just been using this kind of fantastical, magical storytelling as a way to help him process all of that and to cope with it and to make it a little bit easier to survive. But now you actually see him start to lose his temper in that way, which is not typical for him.
Yeah.
So that also indicates of how much this wear and tear of what's going on is now affecting even him as one of the characters that doesn't normally snap like that. If it's somebody like Jade, I mean, Jade is snapping every other scene that he's in of just, and now I'm mad again, and now I'm gonna, say some.
But I don't blame him.
Comment.
I'm sorry, I don't blame him. He's around a bunch of cow turds. Like, he's the one putting in the work.
Yeah. But I like that how you put that about Ethan is, he's normally the one who can like remain level-headed throughout all of this, because it's almost like when she mentioned the crown monocle, Ethan was like, fuck that crown monocle.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Seuss. Like, who cares about Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, who cares about that?
I'm tired of hearing about this Elmo, and none of this matters.
Just went off, like, because he's like you said, he's normally very, chill. He can use the story to kind of work through his emotions and work through what he's going through. But Ethan was not trying to hear any of that this time. And what I'm scared that this scene meant is like Ethan's at the point of no return, because now once you've had this feeling and once you've kind of made this realization that this is not a story, Ethan, even though he is a child, you can't go back. There's no going back from this. And I'm scared Ethan's characterization may change a little bit. He may get a little bit more
irritable.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think it's also because he couldn't sleep too? Children in sleep now. He couldn't go to sleep.
Part of it.
He could have needed a nap.
Yeah. No, but the growing up thing is also really important, because I think people underestimate the logistics of the challenges that come with navigating the logistics of filming with a child that's growing and aging. Because especially now with this writer's strike, if we come back and we're filming, we don't know when, that child's going to be a whole new height and have like a different face. You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating, but it's so you have to organically follow that thread in a way that makes sense of, you can't have him be this innocent little wide-eyed, even-tempered child character the whole time. If you're going to continue the story, it makes more sense of he's dealing with the growing pains of just growing up. And
And it's like,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, just like in Stranger Things season 4, when I was like, oh, they work at the school now. Oh, they're supposed to still be high schoolers. And it's like, I really thought Nancy and Steve were like teachers at school, because that's why they were there.
Well, and Brittany had a good comment. And that's actually incredibly true, because Ethan did let Donna know that, he was starting to become scared. Whereas before, he really wasn't. So I do see that. And honestly, aside from Donna, he really, he really doesn't have anybody else to talk to that he's been able to. I mean, Victor would be sure, but it hate to say it'd be one ear out the other kind of thing. But Donna actually was listening, and so yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting.
But he hasn't expressed that fear to anyone but Donna. When anyone tries to check on him, it's always like, no, I understand. I know it's not a game. I know it's for real, but I'm okay. Ethan has always been the I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And I think this not being able to sleep, not being able to take his little kindergarten nap, I really feel like it. I guess just everything. I think everything is starting to become scary to him now.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what caused this like savage Ethan to come out. But hopefully he'll still, even if he is scared, hopefully he'll still remain somewhat level headed. And yeah, man, because I Ethan's my favorite, one of my favorite characters on the show. But I can't wait to see him grow up and see how he handles everything, as he matures.
Well, we got a preview that he had more to him than that easygoing thing, because remember when he made the choice to confront Sarah and give her a talking to, and it wasn't even that exchange that really got me. It was the part afterwards when she's walking by and she sees him and she kind of tries to smile and he's just at her, and I was just going, ooh, this little child mean mugging. But I mean, I don't blame him, but it was just it was a different dimension.
It takes a pretty bold individual to like me mug Sarah Bodies, because he could have very well ended up on the list.
Not Sarah Body.
I know. I love hearing it every
time. Well, so I'll move on then, because I did see somebody mention the 3, but we'll talk about what's happening at Colony House, because pretty much everything else happens there aside from again, we saw Randall go off on his own, cicadas. We'll come back to that. But at Colony House, you see that, of course, they can't go to sleep. Mary is freaking out. I mean, she clearly she's going through it. And I do love as we're going through, he informs, why am I falling? Okay, sorry. So she's clearly going through it. And so Sarah's like, can we get a room? And they get her a room. And even though while she's still going through it, I looked at that bed and I saw the restraints. I was like, okay. I was like, but if she's going through withdrawal, it totally, it could make sense given to where they're at, because what if she just opens up the window, right? Because she's just going through it.
And she almost tried.
She did, because she was thrashing that room about, because she's like, something's in the room. And, she's going through all these emotions. Sarah's trying to calm her down. And I do appreciate when Mary, she's just like, you know what? We should use the restraints. And, right away, we're seeing all this, things are about to really just blow up at Colony House in a sense, because then you also see as Fatima's going around calming people, there's Yoga Lady and Elgin. And, she's sitting there. She's like, oh, you just holding up so well. And she's like, oh, I'm not doing much. She's like, and then they, 2 people now this episode spoil it that Fatima's pregnant. I laughed. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But poor girl hadn't got to tell anybody really, except everybody else is like, yeah, you're pregnant kind of thing.
Everybody telling her business.
Although I was curious, what did they think would happen when they brought Boyd down? I was like, shouldn't they have prepped him to be like, don't mention the pregnancy thing? Because that was part of his whole story.
Yeah.
Well, they did that whole tropey, I have to tell you something, never mind.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we never got back to it until now.
Yeah. And I feel like that was a 2-second conversation. You could have just said it while he was walking out. So I feel like it got spoiled, but that was on him. That honestly, that was on Ellis. That was on Ellis.
I feel like a lot of scenes, they just if someone is right about to say something like, hey, Yutaka, I have something to tell you. Cut.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, thanks. Okay. See you next episode.
Never mind. It's not important. I'll tell you later.
Right.
Or hey, Ian, around this corner, I got something to show you. Cut.
then Yutaka runs in. Wait, I need to show you something else over here. And then everyone just goes.
Well, you know, in real life, because I feel like if somebody says, "Oh, I need to talk to you about something," I immediately just panic. I think that's all the childhood trauma, where I just assume worst case scenario coming, and I'm not going to be able to rest until you tell me what you need to tell me, because I just assume.
I think it's a way in how you phrase when you tell somebody, "Hey, I got to tell you something," versus I need to tell you. So, like, there's just different ways, like, you can tell by somebody's tone to where, like, But I do think anytime I hear those words, I'm like, uh-oh, what'd I do?
Yeah.
That's
like, I know what you did last summer. Cut.
Always put in screenwriting, and I'm just going, does that actually happen in real life?
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for me, I don't care what else is going on. If you tell me that there's something important, no, you're gonna have to tell me. I hate the text like we need to talk later. I hate like call me when you get a chance. I need to talk to you. No, you can tell me this. I'll walk out of my office. We're gonna talk about this now. And I feel like Ellis really irritated me with that because he was no,
Elgin?
you know what? Go ahead. Never mind. Like,
are we talking about Elgin?
No, wait.
Well, Elgin is an example of that, though.
He's still
he'll start. Yeah, you think he's gonna relay some information that's important and then cut.
They have not revealed enough about Elgin because they keep very clearly saying or showing that he knows something, and then we just never get to know. It's not even a situation where they reveal it to the audience, but then he's keeping it a secret from everybody else. It's just them dropping these little crumbs, and I'm going, no, I'm starving over here. Feed me. I need to know what's happening. Who is this?
I have to say Elgin's probably not the best written because I feel like sometimes they just forget about his character. And I think that could also happen on a cast or on a show that has just a huge ensemble, which this does.
Have some casualties. Let's clear this out.
I also can't tell
no
how old
disrespect
he's
to the
supposed to
actors, but
Yeah.
I can't tell if he's supposed to be like a teenager or like 20s. Like I
don't actually know. I would say 20s.
His temperament is so
right? Because people were trying to put him with or ship him with Julie, but I'm like, isn't she like 16? And I think she's trying to play 19.
I was just like probably 18, 19, 20.
Oh, see, I thought she was like 18 or 20. I didn't realize she was supposed to be.
I
have trouble with that on these shows because I feel like I'm used to everyone being a 25-year-old playing 16.
And it's so funny because it's like how do you introduce someone a character and like, hey, I'm Julie, I'm 16. Like, hey, I'm Elgin, I'm 21. It's weird, I wish there was a way to like.
Well, normally based on school. Ages. It's like, oh, I'm in high school, I'm in university. But there's no school in the town.
Right.
So we don't know his age.
Yeah. Well, the more they talk, I guess they can phrase it as, well, went back when I went to, I don't know, Franklin Miller High School.
Back in 1979. Or okay, you're 40.
Okay, so let me put it this way, though. We finally do, though. Okay, so Elgin suddenly remembers his dream. Donna and the gang come back. You've got Sarah's tending to Mari. She leaves to go get her some juice. When she comes back, Sarah leaves to go get Mari some juice. And
Christy?
In the meantime, that's when all the cicadas start happening. She's starting to be like, what's going on? Sarah comes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Christy comes back.
Christy, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Christy comes back. And Christy's like, oh my God, I need help. Meanwhile, you've got Elgin now saying that nursery rhyme from his dream that was not a big reveal since we've all been hearing this whole nursery rhyme over and over. And then, of course, you see Bacta chime in and say, oh, she knows it because it's an old nursery rhyme. Again, we've heard this already. And I think, Gaz, you already kind of alluded to what your theory was. And I think somebody else put it in here too, was that they're going to come for 3. And that's where I think at the end of the episode, you've got Julie, Randall, and Mari all.
Yeah.
Well, you don't see the cicada. I watched it this morning as well. You don't see the cicadas on Julie, but you can assume that she's, so it would be those 3.
The screeners sometimes don't have the finished visual, so I was like,
Mine was with the unfinished VFX. So I'm seeing just these white cartoon things flying. I'm going, okay, those are not finished.
Yeah, I watched it on MGM Plus for it, so I don't think they actually showed that, but you could tell by the way she was like trying to like looks like she was knocking things off. So that's where I think
Christy's terrible. She don't listen.
True. That's where I think you're going to get your 3.
Yeah, not the 3 that I expected, but we got our 3.
When they went and attacked Randall, I was like, oh, good, they're going to kill him. And then I was like, wait, I hope those don't kill him because then that means these other 2 are going to die, and I don't want them to die.
Well,
I mean, Mari's kind of a disposable character and I hate to say it that way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the new passengers feel that way though, because we just don't have the same amount of time of getting emotionally invested in them to the same degree. Right. But depending on, I mean, again, to be honest, I mean, I wasn't
a liability though too. I'm just
I wasn't even being facetious about it earlier. I really do think that the show would benefit from cleaning house a little bit, and I don't want to be mean spirited in saying that, because in saying that means some actors are going to have to go look for other jobs. But as far as the structural integrity of the show itself, I think that you could be a lot more effective in your storytelling if you kill a couple of these characters off, you know?
Yeah.
It would be very beneficial because I do think there's way too many. And look, they still technically haven't addressed the dwindling supplies. And I just... Honestly, I did think that Mari was dead, and then they said, oh, she's still breathing. I'm like, oh, okay, because she looks still to me. But it would be beneficial. You know, I'm not sure who I'd want to see off the show.
Jim.
Jade, no. But I would like to see, I think what needs to happen though is there needs to be some stake. Like they need to raise the stakes, because I think part of it is there are so many cast members. I forget names, I forget plots at times.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
like Jay, like you were saying though, like the way they do, they go cut.
Yes.
I've done interviews with a bunch of these people, and some of them I'm like, okay, her name's Christy. I'm like, you know, and I have to remind myself.
I don't know why I
it's
kept calling her Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, Boyd is easy to remember just because I'm simping Harold Perrineau because, you know, Mercutio. But everybody else, I'm going, okay, what's their name? Like I'll remember their story, you know, I'll be like, okay, that's the family, and I'll go, what were their names again? You know, it's that thing where
Jim should be an easy name for me to remember, but the first like 3 times you guys said it, I was like, which one is Jim?
Right, who's Jim again?
I was like that. I didn't even know who Elgin was until like, you know, the second season. Pretty much until like that. After like the first couple episodes, I was like, who's Elgin? Ellis?
Well, Elgin's his new character.
Yeah.
Ellis. Oh, right. Ellis is
Ellis. Elgin.
Right. Yeah. Because I got
now. Who in the writers' room thought that was great to like make 2 names so similar? Because I was just
wait, who's Ellis?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a character named Ellis?
Yeah, that's
Boyd's
son.
Yeah, that's Ellis. Yeah.
Oh,
the one that keeps getting hurt.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You know what?
Keeps
That
getting
man.
Yes.
Should we
even got
question
pushed in this episode.
the racial component of that? Like you got 2 young black men on the show, and you Ellis and Elgin.
Elgin. Yep.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's so unserious. You're very
I swear, like I'm
unserious
scared
for
to go
that.
back and look at my interview with the guy who plays Elgin and Ellis, because I feel like I probably called Elgin Ellis and Ellis Elgin.
And
like, I feel like I've got them mixed up.
Okay, you know what? You should never feel bad about that, because I remember interviewing Damien Leone, and everybody for the longest time was like, "Oh, Damien Leone." I go, "Oh my God, I said this man's name to his face. I should have." And then it is Damien Leone. I'm like, ha, everybody else is wrong. But I was like, there are a couple times where I know I've either messed up somebody's name, or because I do my best to try and ask beforehand, but sometimes you don't get that.
I did that for Jim's actor because he's got an Irish name, and you know, Irish names, I love my Irish people, but the spelling I don't automatically know, you know, so I have to ask him, like, so is it pronounced Ian or Ion? And he was like, thank you for asking, and he told me, he's like, it's Ian. I was like, okay, cool.
What's his last name?
Bailey.
Bailey.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, that part's simple.
Yeah.
Actually,
Ian?
somebody just did say that because that's one thing I did leave out. I should have said Tabitha. Yes, the plot of season 2. It was technically foreshadowed in Tabitha's vision the first season because we see from the drawing.
Yeah.
I thought that drawing was corn.
Can I ask, because I genuinely don't remember, did we actually see Victor's mother not alive anymore? Like, did we see in a vision in the flashback or no?
No, she just went up the stairs and she just
and
then we just saw bodies.
yeah,
right?
And okay. Yeah, because I could not remember. I was like, did we get it's that, what is especially like for horror movies and also for comics.
Oh yeah, if you don't see a body,
if you don't see a body, then like, well.
Yeah. That
well.
Anytime people are like, oh no, unless they are down in the morgue and I see the body and they're filleted open, they're still alive.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I've cataloged that and I will,
So with Victor, the thing that I thought until recently was that he lived in the town before it was the town it is, like before people were trapped in there. I fully thought that was what it is. But then in passing, I think in the last 2 episodes, he's mentioned before I was here, or like how like stuff has been there for way longer. Because I totally thought it was going to be, oh, that man that's holding, I forget what the guy's name is, that's holding the book in the picture.
Is it Christopher?
Oh, Christopher.
Yeah, that like he was a murderer and he murdered everyone in town. And then whatever, like weird.
They definitely, they kind of like gave you that illusion, but I don't think, obviously, I don't believe that actually happened.
It's still a good theory, but I mean,
I think something else probably murdered them.
Ooh, promenade.
Yeah, I've heard the time loop theory before, but I haven't looked as deeply into it. I mean, I'll for the sake of full disclosure, I'll put my hands up and say that, I mean, for me watching the show, it's one thing on a list of me having my own channel, and I don't get to really get into the nitty gritty of mining the layers of something, as if you're only watching something for the sake of engaging with it in that way. Whereas for me, it's more so, oh, I'm going to do more interviews. Let me rewatch my screeners and watch it through that lens, as opposed to me trying to figure it out. So there's definitely a lot of those types of details where people like, I don't know where it's coming from, but people were saying that they found, I don't even know where the image is from on the show, but it's like, it looks like Fatima she's one of these like, and I'm going, where is that even? What episode was that? Because I've watched these episodes multiple times and I do not remember where that's from.
Wait, what are we talking about? What shirt?
It's like a flower print blouse that she had on, and then last episode, and then when Elgin had the dream that there was like that mummified corpse or whatever, it looked like it was either wearing the same shirt or a similar shirt that Fatima had worn earlier in the series. I'm not sure season 1, season 2.
It was season 1. She wore that a lot in season 1, especially in like the first, I think, 3 episodes or something like that. She kind of wore the same style.
Yeah, I'm definitely not I'm going to figure this out before it airs. I'm all right, now that I've seen it, we can talk about what we've seen type of viewer with this show, because there's just no way. I can't figure out what they're doing.
I hope they don't go time loop theory. I really don't, because then it'll really start to come off similar to Lost.
Let me ask you guys this.
And that would frustrate me.
Let me ask y'all this. What answer to this would like make you furious? Like, what ending would you just be like,
biblical?
For me, the dream.
I don't want another biblical story.
For me, it's a dream. If we get to the end of the series and it's a dream,
that's second place for me. Done. I don't want to. It was all just a dream. But if it's something biblical, you don't put.
Oh, I think you're cutting out. But you kind of cut out. But
there we go. Okay.
So, okay, you said if it's biblical, that's a no. I would say what they did with Lost. We all knew it was coming, and I was so mad because obviously they put too many questions before they could get answers, and the series was canceled. I don't want to be they're all just dead. This is the afterlife.
Wait, Yutaka. That is not what the ending of Lost was. They were not dead the whole time. It was like they died and came back together.
I was like, look, I'm over it.
It wasn't that deep. It was, hey, we ran out of time, guys.
I never watched that show, and now I refuse to watch it because that article came out talking about how hellish it was to work on that show as writers. And it's oh, so that's interesting. You got all this praise for doing your Watchmen show, that was putting talented performers as leads, and now we're finding out what Harold went through, like in more detail on that show, and what the writers went through. And I'm just going like, everybody's always trying to act like I need to watch Lost. And now I'm like, and now I have a reason not to ever.
You're good.
I don't know if you need to. Some people think it's the greatest show ever. I'm not one of those people.
I feel like if you weren't already in it during when it was happening, it's not going to hit the same.
Right.
Because it was very much of that time, because that's when you would only get one episode every week, and then you all get into your conversations about it. You're trying to figure it out, but it's like, well, now we already know. If you watch it now, you already know the ending.
It's sort of like if you weren't watching The Good Place when The Good Place was on, there's really no point in watching The Good Place now.
I don't know about that. That's a comedy half hour, and you could still have fun with it.
Yeah, but we all know the answer. Like, we know the ending at this point. So like,
the reveals won't hit the same. At least that part wouldn't. But I just
that's what I don't want to see. That would be like, I would waste my time.
I think I would hate for it to be an experiment. I don't know.
I was thinking that too.
Because that's just
I would love that.
You would like that?
I was thinking that too.
Because for me, it's like it depends on the execution. It's not just an experiment for the sake of it, but it's like I do like the idea of, okay, so what are you trying to say by having that be why it's happening? So are you trying to make a statement about, because there's a lot in history to do with really nefarious things done for the sake of scientific research.
Absolutely.
So like, I don't mind when that reveal happens if you do it well, because I think it gives me something really interesting to talk about and dissect, and the layers of the commentary of what you're getting at, of the levels of cruelty that you're willing to inflict on people for the sake of research. So again, you have to do it well, but I'm open. I was excited when I thought we were going with that, where you've got this man on the radio, it's very pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, I'm going, so who's behind the curtain?
I'm very biased. My first genre that I love is like magic, especially dark magic. I'm hoping that it's like something with like a curse over a town and looming and trying to keep people in, and once you go in, you can't go out. That's what would make me satisfied.
Yeah. Well, I only don't want the experiment route, only because now that would mean that Randall was right. Now, if Randall hadn't have had that theory, I wouldn't mind the experiment route. Whatever. And then I'm curious as to what.
Hey, who knows? Maybe it could be Randall all along.
Existed
and he's
before
doing
Randall.
The experiment.
The theory was already in motion before, and then they put it into his head, and now he's escalating it and just making more havoc.
It was, but now it'll mean that he was right the whole time, and I just hate for him to be right.
That's like, did any of you watch True Blood? That's kind of how I felt about True Blood when they were like comparing them to gay people, and it's like, okay, but also they're murderers. Like, I don't know. Like,
jeez.
Also, someone in the comments was saying there was the time travel. Is that a thing everyone has picked up on? Because I did not.
I had that theory last time, last week. The time loop.
It was
theory.
I
don't know if I would want that, but
I don't necessarily think it's time. I know we have the faraway tree, and I think, again, we still don't know the whole thing behind it, but I think there's some mysticism. So, I don't think it's a time loop, but we all could be wrong. We all could find out in the final episode of season 2, or we might have to wait till season 3. But, with that, I'm just going to go around and ask what's everyone's final thoughts. So I'll start with you, RJ.
Final thoughts. I definitely enjoyed the episode. I think that Ethan's one-liner, one here to quitter, very wild and out. I believe he ate Victor up with that line. And I feel like Victor is owed an apology. Definitely probably one of not want to say my favorite episode, but I feel like this was a very eventful episode, and I can't, because since we know what happens in the season finale, I'll just say that I can't wait to see what happens in season 3, because I really enjoyed the show. I enjoy the mystery. I enjoy the premise. I really hope that the writer's strike doesn't affect this show, because it's been a while since I've found a good horror show that I truly enjoy. So I really enjoyed the episode.
All right, I'm just going across the screen, so I'll go. Jenivia, how about yours?
My main point of feedback is it's something I've already said, but to reiterate, it's very much the Wendy Williams meme: death to all of them. Clear house. Too many people. It's blocking my ability to get invested to the degree that I should be invested in characters. I mean, I feel like the one person that I really stick with is Harold, but that's also built on the bias of the reason I started watching this show was because I got an invitation to do the junket, and I saw Harold Perrineau's name, and I went, I'm a Baz Luhrmann stan. I want to talk to that man, even if it's for 5 minutes on Zoom. So, and now we're here. So for me, I need them to clear house. I mean, you could probably kill off half the characters, and you still have loads of people to do material with and to dig into.
I would agree with that, because I just feel like we're not getting. Season 1, we really got to see more about these characters, and we really got to see emotional arcs and a little bit. Whereas it's overcrowded. Yeah, and I wouldn't mind some deaths, because
some good deaths, some emotionally traumatic deaths,
gory. Like, y'all went hard on season 1, episode 1 when you killed the kid. That caught me off guard. I was like, they did good.
Wait, what's his bracelet? What's his bracelet?
So this is what I'm talking about. All these little details. I'm going. When was that in the show? I don't know.
Oh yeah, no. In the flashback for Victor, Victor's mom has the same bracelet that now Tabitha has.
Right, and that's what kind of helped me.
That's why people are like
the time loop.
Sort
of thing.
Wait, Tabitha is Boyd's dead wife, right?
No. Tabitha's Jim's wife.
Jim's wife.
Tabitha's the mom.
Right. We didn't even talk about her story in this episode. We don't have to, because we're already. We're like.
I mean, to be fair, her storyline this episode was blink and you'll miss it. It was, oh hey, this tower. I've had visions of it. I think the kids want me to go there. That's
right. I think the only theory
and scene.
Right. The only theory I think we can form from that is her probably going out into that forest and trying to summon those children and seeing what she can do for them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, Jay, I'll go to you then. What are your final thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, is adding up to this, somewhere where we're gonna be, but like this last episode is gonna be the final for the season, right? Right. Okay, so yeah, so please, I agree with Lady Jenivia, please clear some house. There's a lot of people on the show, and again, I'm with you, Taco, as well. I wouldn't mind seeing the right type of people get their demise, because it does invest in me not being close to these characters. But it's not just that; it's that we need to figure out what the hell's going on. Period.
Agreed. Again,
I agree too.
That's it. Just give me some answers, Elgin, please.
I doubt that's going to happen. All right, Des, how about yourself? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I really like this episode. I think it does further solidify that, we do have it is crowded on the show. It's time to clean house. Get rid of the characters that are just kind of moving the story along. I think if it's moved along long enough, you don't need those. If they don't have a proper development as far as character-wise, there's really no need for them.
Right there. Yep.
Yes.
I agree.
What's the guy's name that stabbed Ellis? What's his name?
Dale.
Yeah,
I do not remember that man's name.
Hell, get rid of Dale.
It's time to get rid of Dale.
Dale gotta go.
And Ian, we'll close out with you before we say our goodbyes. Your final thoughts.
I don't know. They need to start giving a little bit more answers than just adding more mystery. I'm always like hesitant with shows like this because I did watch Lost live and I do like it, but it was very clear, even as someone who liked the show, that they had no idea what they were doing from the start. Even before the book came out, that was obvious watching it. Yeah. And I don't want it to get to that point where they're adding so much to it that then it's like,
because I think that was that was aside from other things, that was like Lost's biggest downfall. And I don't want to see that, because I loved the first season of From so much more than this season. I've enjoyed, because maybe we've gotten a little bit more development for some characters, or we've maybe a few more answers. I still don't think we've had a lot, but yeah, it needs to pick up the pace, which is hard to say knowing there's only one episode left. So with that, I just want to say thanks, everyone. This has been fun. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna go around. RJ, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Silver Site. Type it in. You see purple 9 times out of 10. It's me. If you don't see anything purple, it's not me.
That's fair. All right, and Lady Jenivia.
I am Lady Jenivia on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Vero, Tumblr, which I don't really use except to post my videos. But it's basically, if I have a social media, it's Lady Jenivia. Oh, and TikTok. I keep forgetting I have TikTok. I'm not a kid. I don't know how to
get on TikTok.
Absolutely not. I don't ever want to be on TikTok. Jay, where can people find you?
Yeah, I have Instagram, TikTok, and gonna start my YouTube channel, Twitch, all that. At Hero Harrison Talk, got some comic book stuff coming your way. So
awesome. And Des, where can everyone find you?
Yes, at Desiree Geraldine on Instagram, and if you want to, just for fun, check out my IMDb, Desiree Geraldine.
And then Ian, close it out. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Ian X Carlos on all social platforms, and you can find my horror podcast I do with Zachary Patton Garcia at My Bloody Judy on all social platforms, and on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and same thing with my podcast Slayerfest 98. It's at Slayerfest X98.
nice.
Where Ian gave me a 10% for a really awesome idea for a horror film where we had to turn. That
was for My Bloody Judy.
It was for My Bloody Judy. I'm calling this out, y'all, because you know what? I'm putting Ian on the spot. We had to take a film or an idea, an older film, and turn it into a horror film. And Ian didn't like this, but I said, what about, because it's one of my favorite 80s films, Adventures in Babysitting, but it's a horror film, and all the kids end up dying in mysterious ways like Final Destination. And he said absolutely not. And he gave me
because you said there was no killer. And I hate a movie where it's like, oops, they tripped and died. Oh, yep, no one did it. Like, that's like my biggest, like, in horror. I'm like, this isn't horror, then this is people being stupid and falling.
At one point, though, she is on that building in Chicago and easily could have slipped and that girl should have died.
But I mean, if half of them are dead at that point, who would be on that rope?
But anyways, y'all, that's where we'll put the links in below. Go check everybody out, and then we'll be back next week to talk the finale.
Tune in, same time, same place, later days.